Hello, my name is Omar, and today we're talking about the StackHawk configuration file linting and validation available in the new version of the StackHawk scanner. As part of the latest release, functionality has been added that will catch configuration file errors so that you can get to a successful scan faster. Today, we will show you how you can leverage this in your integrated development environment and while scanning with the StackHawk CLI or Docker image. In this demonstration, I'll show you 3 ways that you can validate your StackHawk configuration file. In order to run a scan using either the StackHawk CLI or HawkScan Docker image, we must first have a valid configuration file. Your configuration file can be downloaded upon adding your application in the StackHawk platform. Once you've downloaded your configuration file, you can add it to the working directory of your application and start editing it. After completing your configuration, you'll want to check your configuration file for errors. The first way to check your file is to open it in an integrated development environment. So here I have 2 configuration files, and they have some explicit problems in them. You can see here that with the IDE support, it is showing yellow highlighting where there's problems with the values. So in this case, I put an extra P in HTTPS, which is triggering the validation. In this case, it's expecting a /. And in this case, it's expecting a string rather than a raw integer. With this file, there is actually problems with this file that make it not parsable as YAML. So this other configuration file was parsable as YAML, but was not a valid StackHawk configuration file. But with this file, it's actually missing some colons here that are causing it to not be parsable. And I'll show you what the errors look like in the CLI as well as in the Docker image when trying to work with these files. The second way to check your configuration file is to use the hawk validate config command to validate your configuration file. So what I'll do is I'll take that first configuration file that had problems, and I'll run the hawk validate config command on it. We'll see what the output looks like. Okay, so it parsed the file. It is throwing a configuration validation error, and it's pointing out the areas where there were problems with the YAML file. And it gives us some helpful error messages. It tells us what was expected here as an example, which was HTTPS rather than having this extra P here. In this case, it tells us that it's expecting an example with a / where we are missing a /. And in this case, we're expecting a string instead of a number. Now, if we try to do this on a configuration file that doesn't have problems, we run the hawk validate config on this file, the StackHawk YAML, which has no problems in it, and we'll see the confirmation message of a file that doesn't have any problem. The third way that the configuration file can be checked is during a scan using either the StackHawk CLI or the HawkScan Docker image. So first I'll use the CLI and I'll run it against the first configuration file that has problems. And what we'll see is the same error message as the hawk validate command. So this serves as a final check on your configuration file when trying to run scans. We get the same pointed out errors with the same error messages. We can also get the same error messages with the Docker image. So I'm going to try to run a scan, and instead I'm going to use the bad YAML file example. So we'll see that we'll get the same error message where there is a problem parsing this YAML file. So it's telling us the invalid YAML format error was found here, gives us the same error. And so this new feature is available in both the StackHawk CLI as well as in the Docker image. That concludes this overview of the configuration file linting and validation now available in the StackHawk scanner. I hope that you find this new functionality helpful in running your scans. See you later.